Hi, I'm Terrell Turner, the host of the Finance and Accounting Show. And today we have another great guest on. Now, one of the things that has been a huge deal in the area of finance and accounting is moving from just being a player in the background who's just doing details, working with spreadsheets, or trying to work in the back end of a system, but really moving closer to the front line of really making an impact in how the business operates and how the business moves forward. Well, today we have a guest on that is pioneering a amazing technology that is really helping finance leaders make that transition in an even smoother way. So stay tuned for today's episode. So without further ado, let me bring on my guest. Joe, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Thanks, Terrell. Excited to be here. I'm doing fantastic for a Tuesday morning. How about yourself?
I'm great. I'm great. I guess for like the start of your week, with running a tech company, I mean, do you have like a routine that you usually try to stick with, or is it just like, hey, fire drills early morning?
No, I think I have established a pretty good start of the week routine. So currently, I'm overseeing three different teams, which has been really fun. So our sales team, our marketing team, and our customer success team. So Mondays and Tuesdays are really just getting a pulse on the initiatives those teams are working on, the customers that need extra love, and any of the deals that are in the pipeline that are close to closing that I could potentially help with. And then from there, once I have the pulse of like how those teams are doing, it kind of sets the tone for the rest of the week and where I need to go spend some time. Also, super exciting. We have a new VP of marketing starting this week, so helping her get onboarded. So the weeks are always fun and action packed.
Nice, nice. So it sounds like you guys are off to a great start and a great trend with where the business is going in. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But before we jump into that, can you share a little bit about your background before, starting this business?
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up on the East Coast over in New York. Went to college at a school called St. John's University. During my time in college, it was the 2008 financial crisis. So accounting was kind of where I was steered because the world was kind of falling apart at that time. And accounting was like that safety net where you would always have a job, you'd always be secure. And I had a natural tendency to just excel at it. So I started my career over at KPMG working in the Big Four. I specialized in private equity tax, which is, I think, a weird thing to specialize in, but that's kind of where life took me then. Then, after 2 years at KPMG, I got a message in my LinkedIn inbox from a company in the Bay Area called Palantir. And Palantir was doing like incredible things. The article they sent, was explaining how they stopped IED explosions in Afghanistan. And my best friend in the world was a first lieutenant in the Marine Corps. And I was like, wow, this could save my buddy's life. He was, deployed then. So I was like, I have to go check out what this company is about. So I joined Palantir, moved to the West Coast, didn't know a soul. And that was kind of how I began my career in corporate finance. At the time, Palantir, there was just a lot of room to take on more and more responsibility. So got to, get involved with FP&A and leading finance operations, and saw the company go through this awesome phase of hyper growth, and got to implement a lot of software and technology that made the team more efficient. And that journey kind of led me to where I am today, which is now building a company that is helping other folks do financial planning and reporting a little bit more efficiently.
Awesome, awesome. I'm curious, going from that, public accounting perspective to then being in, a hyper growth company. What was that transition like?
Yeah, it was. I think public accounting and the Big Four really prepare you for anything. Like the level of work ethic that you need to have, the level of professionalism, the ability to battle through adversity really prepares you for whatever is next. And then once you're inside a cool company like Palantir, where you're getting free drinks and you're getting, meals prepared for you, you're like, wow, this is the softer side of life. But all of the skill sets that they prepare you for, you just kind of can take to the next level in the private sector.
Gotcha. That's an awesome contrast. I started my career in public accounting with Ernst and Young,
Yep.
and it's like when I think about like those early years of, and I started back in 2007,
Yep.
so around the same time during those early years, yeah, having meals prepared for you and drinks available is a very night and day difference.
Totally. Um, yeah, big staunch difference from like the Flavia coffee machines over at the big four offices. But yeah, it was a good place to cut your teeth for sure.
Okay, awesome. Now, as you kind of navigated into, like, say, getting into, more of the corporate finance roles, I mean, from your background, did you study accounting in school and then so the corporate finance was kind of new to you, or did you have like some exposure to it beforehand?
Yeah, so I studied accounting in school, so the corporate finance element was new. What I really enjoyed was kind of working with big data sets, and for accounting and tax, all the data sets were always backwards looking, and I was like, man, this is already 6 months, 9 months old. Who cares about this stuff? Like what I was more interested in is like what's going to happen next. So all the Excel skills that I had learned was really just about transitioning to them over to like the future side of the business. So I think learning curve there for sure, but was able to pick it up pretty quick.
Okay. That's always an interesting thing because, I felt the same when because I started off in audit, whereas more of your work was about what had already happened in the past. And the only way you got recognition is if you found a big problem.
Yep.
Whereas when you transition to the more forward looking stuff, to where, like I said, you get more engaged with the decisions kind of leading forward. Like, how did you like or dislike that experience as you kind of transition from, you know, looking in the past to now looking in the future with a lot more subjectivity involved?
Yeah. So I think a couple of things, right? So coming out of the big four, there was that path where you can do audit or tax. And for me, I always wanted to be helpful to people and I wanted to, work in partnership with them. And audit was, like you said, always kind of backwards looking and nobody's really excited to have their auditors kind of peering through the books. So tax was more exciting because people wanted me there because I could potentially save them money and put in future strategies that would save them money in the future. And then when I got to the corporate side, it was kind of like the same choice, right? It's like you can do accounting, you can keep the trains running on time, or you can go out and you can help the business make decisions about the future and show them, hey, here are the different paths that you could potentially take. And if you do this, then this is going to happen, or like, here's what we can expect. So that was always more intriguing to me, is to get out there and show the business their full potential and help them think about what was next based on, the current set of data that we had. So it was an easy choice for me.
Okay, awesome. Now, as you kind of navigated that, at what point did, kind of the light bulb or the that moment of dawning happen for you of, instead of just working in a company, also like working on building and leading a company yourself?
Yeah. So I spent about 5 years at Palantir. And when I joined Palantir, it was a relatively small place. And, really fortunate to have gone on that ride of hypergrowth where they grew from, $1 billion valuation to 20 and kind of expanded globally all across the planet. And what that presented for us in finance was all these challenges that we got to see firsthand, which is like, okay, your financial data used to live in one system. Now it lives in 10. Your customer data used to be really simple, but now it's really complex. And all of the tools that we needed to use to make decisions and build models were super manual. And if our business partners would ask us a question, it would take us 2-3 weeks to get them an answer. And it's like, by the time you can come back to them with that answer, it's like they've already moved on. They don't even care about the question anymore. So it's like, how can you be a partner to the business when all the tools and the software that you're using are, from 20 years ago, or just really, really riddled with formula errors and error prone spreadsheets and cells. So the idea for Mosaic came from all the pain that we kind of lived through for those 5 years going through that hypergrowth.
Nice, nice. Now, as you kind of looked at that, that transition from, instead of looking in the past, of kind of looking forward, did you find, or I guess, did you first kind of shop around to see, hey, was who else is already trying to do this? Or did you just have the mindset of like, hey, I'm just going to go build, the solution to the pain that I'm feeling?
Yeah. So we definitely looked around first, right? And there were some legacy tools out there that have built tremendous businesses. But the technology that they had built was kind of the 2.0 of the world. It was built for the world when things were still on-prem and they were moving over to cloud. So what we saw is like, hey, now there's all of these small best-in-breed cloud-based SaaS tools. Some have your people data in them, some have your customer data, some have your expense data, some have your accounting data. And people are choosing the ones that are the best at each of those different tasks. So bringing all of that data together is now really hard. And none of the old legacy systems did that well. So we saw this opportunity to connect all of those systems into one central place so that you have, a full 360-degree view on the business. And then once all of that data is in one place, you have these great analytics about the business that you could then use to forecast what you think will happen. And the fun part about working in finance, again, is like being out there helping the leaders of the business make decisions and showing where the potholes might be and showing different strategies when things may get tough.
Awesome. Now, when it came down to kind of like navigating that and figuring that out, how was it in, having the conversations with that first customer to trust your solution and to actually be willing to pay you for what you brought to the table?
Yeah, so I won't lie. The first couple of customers, we didn't ask them to pay us. We just said, hey, let us help. We're not going to charge you. We're going to build you something really cool. In the meantime, we'll make sure that your books and your records and your accounting is running really smoothly. So the first 10 or so customers that we had were very service based because we didn't have a product. And building a financial modeling company takes a lot of work and there's a lot of product to build. So in the early days, it was like, just get access to data, get access to customers, hear about the problems, understand the things that they would want to see, and then take all those learnings and fold it into the product. So the first 10 or so customers, we had to say like, we'll work for free. We'll do whatever you guys need. After we showed some value, they're like, you guys are great. We're going to pay you for this. And we're like, awesome. So that was kind of always in our DNA.
That's something that I find with a lot of people that are, as we talk to so many different business owners across like all of the business talk library shows, one of the things that I hear a lot of people talking about is trying to immediately jump to monetization, like immediately before having kind of that true, product validation. Um, you know, I guess in that journey where you said the first couple of customers, you guys didn't, go in with, hey, here, charge us. It was more, hey, let us, provide the solution for you. Did you kind of have that friction of trying to figure out, okay, how fast can we monetize, or were those some of the discussions you had within like, your team?
In the early days, it was just me and my co-founder. We were fortunate enough to raise a small seed. So we had some life to us to figure out, like, build the initial prototype. So everything was about building that initial prototype. And then once we can build it, show it to customers, and did they like it? And if the answer was yes, we knew that we would be able to get on past that seed round and can start to monetize. So we kind of gave ourselves the buffer that we needed to get through that phase of the business. And it worked out.
Awesome. I love it. Now, one of the other things, that, curious about is when it came down to, scaling and finding those next customers. And because one of the things that I think a lot of finance, whether you're a finance firm or whether you're starting a tech company, is learning the marketing and that sales process. What was that like for you?
Yeah, I think it was a natural fit for me, only because we spent a decade doing all of the work, feeling all the pain that our finance counterparts were feeling. So when it came to like marketing, it wasn't unnatural, right? We could talk about the pain that these people were going through because we lived it ourselves. When it came to selling the product, right, I can jump on the phone with you and we can talk for days about all the, the pain of like the building a financial model, updating the spreadsheets, version control. So it was just this natural, they call it founder market fit that we had to just kind of express the pain, understand the problem, solve it, and speak to folks in a more consultative type of way than your typical sales process.
Mhm. Awesome. Now, what was it like actually building out the team around, like, as you started to grow and where now you're managing, having enough clients and cash flow coming in, making sure the product delivers to expectations, and also growing the team to keep up with, the growth of the overall solution?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, it still is fun. I think the most rewarding part about starting a company is hiring really smart people and seeing them excel and do things really, really well. Things that you can never do, things that people have a peak in that you may not have a peak in, and just allowing them to have a really wide lane to operate. So we've been really fortunate to have great investors. Those investors helped us build a great team, and that's really been the most fun part about this is bringing on other folks along the journey and seeing them do incredible things throughout their career.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Now, one of the things that I'm curious about is, for yourself, is how your road changed as, things grew. Because, in the beginning, with you and your co-founder, it was like, hey, everything had to be done by the two of you. But as you start to bring people on, like, what was that like of letting go of some things and transitioning to other areas?
It's been really cool. I think having that tactical on the ground experience has helped us hire great people because we know the skill sets that you're going to need. We know the expertise in finance is a must for our customer success team. We know that an AE who comes in from selling something completely different is going to need to be trained up on finance, is going to need to be able to speak to a CFO intelligently. All of those learnings we had from our tactical work on the ground that we could then help mold and explain to the new folks that we hired. Now the roles are a little different, right? I'm not out there selling day to day anymore, but I am still helping the team jumping on the deals that they need some help with. Same goes for customer success. Not there live onboarding customers anymore, but explaining, how it should work, when things go wrong, why did they go wrong. So more high level.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So now I want to switch gears a little bit from talking about, like, the business and the business journey, but actually talking a little bit more about the product. So, what are can we revisit what are some of the use cases or the problems that your clients are trying to solve when they're saying, yes, this solution is the one that I need?
For sure. So there's kind of 3 or 4 core pillars of the platform to talk about, right? The first is data integration. So in finance, your financial data lives across multiple different systems. So a lot of the work that you're doing is like downloading data, manipulating it, merging it together, massaging it, VLOOKUPs. So data integration is like the core pillar of the application. It brings everything together in one place so that you have all of the corners of your business in one place, in one system. From there, what are you doing when you're downloading that data, right? You're building reporting packages for your different department heads. You're updating your investors. You're understanding all of your SaaS metrics to see if you're operationally efficient. So the analytics and reporting layer is like the next big use case for us. And if you have now all of your data integrated in one place, you have all these great analytics about your business. How could you use that to inform what the business might look like in 6 months or a year from now? So financial modeling, scenario analysis, what if, modeling are kind of like our staples. That's what we love helping customers with. The last bit is in finance, you don't do this work for yourself, right? As much of like Excel nerds and modeling junkies and GAAP accountants that we are, the output of our work is designed to help the rest of the business. So there's some inherent collaboration to the product where you can invite people to see how they're trending towards their budget, or who their top 10 vendors are, or what the new business bookings were for the quarter, for the month, how your sales team is doing. So built-in collaboration was really important.
Mhm. Awesome. I love it. I love it. Now, one of the areas that, I used to struggle with when I was the FP&A leader was bringing in kind of like the sales pipeline data into the financial modeling process. How do you guys approach that?
So we have direct integrations with all the major market winners in the CRM side. So again, one of the things that we learned from our days at Palantir was how to do data integration really well. So now in the product, if you're trying to build a top line model, you can just quickly add in a row for sales pipeline. You can filter it to all the deals that are in the later stage. And now you have, your late stage deals coming directly from the CRM in your financial model, updated in real time. You could also do really cool other types of top line models, like building a sales capacity or rep ramp model, which I'm sure you're familiar with from your FP&A days. But again, the way to build those things is to have interconnected systems. So you need your sales rep performance from the CRM. You need your pipeline from the CRM. You also need your hiring plan from your HRIS system and your forward-looking headcount planning process. So bringing all that together allows for these really great and accurate models.
Awesome. I love it. So if people are interested in learning a little bit more about the solution, getting in touch with you guys, where can they find you online?
Yeah, our website is mosaic.tech, TECH. We have an email address, info@mosaic.tech, that we'll always respond to. And then you can find me on LinkedIn, Joe Garafalo.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Well, before we wrap up, one final question is, based on all that you've learned and the things that you've kind of navigating, what's two lessons that you would share with finance leaders based on your experiences?
Two lessons. Know that your customers are your business partners. Serve them and you'll succeed in your role. Be out there talking to those folks, understanding their pain, and then figuring out how you can provide solutions. If you stay behind the spreadsheets, if you stay backwards looking, you're not going to get to the career level that you aspire to be.
Awesome. I love it. Well, Joe, thank you so much for being a great guest on the show.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Terrell. It's a pleasure.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Finance and Accounting Show. If you like what you heard, don't be selfish. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and then share this with a friend.